With light of the recent COVID-19, we have disease ecology that has gained a lot of momentum. So let's understand what this all about is disease ecology. Now, disease ecology is nothing but a very simple concept that has been given, and this concept mainly focuses on infectious disease and how species interact with the abiotic component. So there are various species that interact with the abiotic component, and there is a process of disease that occurs, and that interaction leads to the spread or the virulence that we can see, that we would understand in a while in more detail. So what happens, there is a pathogen and a host. So that pathogen enters the body of the host, and that host is capable of spreading the disease further. Now that would depend on various parameters that we would understand, but this host can be infected with a single pathogen. This host can be infected with a multiple pathogens, and based on the level of virulence that is in the body, you would have the levels of morbidity or mortalities that would be understood. So to understand this concept of disease ecology, where we focus on interaction of species and its kind of outcome that could be seen, we need to understand what exactly is a disease and the various concepts under disease. So disease is nothing but a pathogenic condition, we would say, where a pathogen or a parasite enters into the body. Now this pathogen or a parasite, when enters into a body, it is not transmitted until it has a host. So this ill patient here, as you can see, is the host. So this ill patient would have the pathogen, and this ill patient, in case of infectious diseases, would be capable of transmitting it to another person. So this person who was previously a fit person now can become a ill person. So hosts have a capability to migrate. Now when this person who was an ill person becomes well, he can move to another place or another region where population density is high, where you have higher invasive potential, we could say, and as a result has a capability to infect other people. Now this infection goes into the system or the population, we could say, and this transmission could occur through various ways. It could occur through let's say air, it could occur through water, it could occur through soil, contaminated feces, or it could occur through bite of animals. So there could be various ways under which this pathogen could be transmitted from the body of one host to another host. There could be intermediaries who could carry this pathogen to another organism. Now once this disease is there, this disease can occur either through microorganisms, or they could have macroorganisms. So there could be, I could say, microparasites or macroparasites. Now when I say microparasite, what are the microparasites that are there? These could be virus, bacteria, fungi. When I say macroparasites, these are basically much more bigger in size, they have shorter lifespan, and there is a kind of worms, arthropods, who can have a higher probability to spread the disease. Now whenever there is a disease, there are four areas we understand. First is, there is an interaction between the pathogen and the various strains. Now, once we understand the pathogen, the various strains, we try to understand the system of transmission, how it transmits, and what is the dynamics behind the transmission. Then, the transmission of the pathogen, and finally, we try to understand how the host has evolved. The host can basically subside the level of virulence there itself and not transmit it further, or it can become further virulent and transmit it at a faster pace. So to understand this, there was a very simple Mathematica model of the life cycle of Plasmodium, which is capable of spreading malaria. And this experiment was conducted by Ross. So when Ross conducted this experiment, which was later on strengthened by further studies, there was a SEIR model that was released, and this is how much population is susceptible, how much population is exposed, the population which is infected, and the population which has recovered. So we talk about the susceptible population, who are prone to get the disease very quickly, how much people are exposed to the pathogen, how much people have already been infected. So there is a difference between getting exposed and getting infected, and then finally how many of them have recovered. So based on this model, we try to understand the four compartments of disease and the disease ecology as such. Now, once there is a disease into a system, when it is an infectious disease, we understand what the prevention measures could be. So we always believe that it's better to have prevention rather than cure. So prevention in any ways is much more easier and much more better as compared to the cure. Now there are various ways. One way is quarantining or isolating the person. So he is shifted, the ill person, he or she is shifted to a separate isolation section, and he is, let's say, home quarantined, as that is a common term that you might be familiar in the times of COVID. So that is one way of preventing the spread. The second way is culling. So the pathogen which spreads it should be removed immediately, and that is one way of reducing it. The next way is creating a social distancing. So that reduces the load. The load of the pathogen, the virulence or the infectivity rate reduces. And the next is vaccination, and that is a way to create herd immunity. So herd immunity can be created through vaccination. So those are the four popular ways of prevention that are commonly studied under disease ecology, and this was a brief concept to help you understand how actually this disease ecology works.